I'm Russell Doctrove, and I'm the executive chef here at Jimmy's Kitchen. There's not many restaurants in Hong Kong, especially Western restaurants, that have such an iconic history. And I think that was one of the reasons that really attracted me to this role, was because it was a restaurant that I used to go to, as a kid with my family. Once I heard that they were bringing it back, I really wanted to do it justice, and really, be a part of, cementing its new legacy for the next, 100 years or so. Not, a lot of the memories are a little bit hazy, but I remember going there with my family. I think it was one of my first restaurants where I was introduced to this wide range of cuisine. There were dishes on the menu, French dishes that I'd never heard of before, and I remember just my parents explaining to me. And we always had our sort of go-to dish. So, I always used to order the chicken Kiev. My dad used to get the chicken Madras. So I remember sort of picking at the raisins. And my mom used to get the steak Diane. So yeah, I just have very good memories of it. And
now you can make the secret recipe for your
I can, yeah. It is a secret recipe, so I can't even tell my dad, but yeah. Well, we were looking to add a new section to the menu, which didn't exist in the previous concept, where we have a lot of light and sort of fresh seafood options. Yes, so we presented today a couple of dishes which sort of reference our sort of classic dishes and some of our newer creations. So one of them was, one of the newer dishes was our king crab leg. So our crab comes from Russia. We lightly dress it in lemon juice, olive oil, salt and pepper, and then we top it with a citrus hollandaise, which we make using lime and lemon zest and mandarin powder. The second new dish would be our beef mince on toast. So it's inspired by a very classic English dish where beef is slow cooked in red wine, Worcestershire sauce, lots of aromatic vegetables like leek, celery, onion, and it's slow cooked for about 5 to 6 hours. And then we basically serve it atop a piece of grilled sourdough, which we cook in beef fat, so it's nice and crispy. And then we pair it with a really fresh watercress salad and some horseradish cream. We use quite a lot of beef in the restaurant here. So all the trimmings we keep and we basically render that down in a pan. It takes about 3 to 4 hours. And what we're left with is just pure beef fat, which has a really sort of strong flavor, which we use again to sort of crisp up the toast, but also to brush on our beef before serving. Yes, that's the kind of philosophy I like to sort of abide by when cooking. I think when the customer gets the dish, there's maybe only 3 or 4 components in front of them. But what sometimes they don't realize is, there's a lot of preparation that goes on behind the scenes and before they get there. We try to use really good quality ingredients at the beginning. And then instead of enhancing them and adding too many flavors, we just try to find 1 or 2 that we think complement that dish the best. This is probably the dish that takes the longest to prepare, simply because we dry age the ducks for up to 2 weeks. The ducks come in from France. We basically take off all the legs, take off the wings, which we use in other preparations. And then, once the duck breast has been aged, we basically slow cook in a combination of using the oven, but also on a hot pan to get the skin nice and crispy. And then we pair it with, at the moment, blackberries. So we have pickled blackberries and also some blackberry puree. So I think, a lot of people that know Jimmy's Kitchen know that it was a huge menu, but they were also really famous for a couple of dishes which we've, tried to bring back onto the menu. So these are a very memorable experience that a lot of people remember from Jimmy's, the famous pickled onions. So it's one of those things for sure we had to bring back. The process of them is it takes a couple of days. We have to first get all the pickled, the small shallots first. We have to peel the outer layers till they're all about the same size. Then we salt them for 2 days. Once the salt is washed off, we have to rinse them continuously for about 5 or 6 hours to get rid of all the salt. And then we basically cover them in a very special vinegar, which we get from a local supplier, the same local supplier that used to supply the previous Jimmy's. And then they sit in the vinegar for up to 2 days, and then they develop this really floral sort of flavor. You know, I think a lot of people, before they try them, think they're going to have this really strong onion flavor, but in reality they're very fragrant and actually quite delicate. And I'd say one secret that I was told, the best way to eat them is actually with some bread and butter. Eat it all at the same time. It's the perfect combination. One of them being the chicken Madras. I would say that was by far the most popular item. And it was one of those dishes where we had to go through lots of old recipes to really get the perfect recipe. You know, we haven't really changed too much. We use the same supplier that creates the special spice blend for us. We cook it exactly the same way, and we serve it almost identically to how it used to be. This carousel is actually from the old restaurant, and we've only got about 6 of these. So they're kind of like vintage antique pieces. Yeah, so these are exactly the same, and the condiments themselves are exactly as how they used to be. So this is basically a pickle that we get from one of our Indian suppliers. It's very, very spicy, so we usually have to warn customers about it. You've also got some coconut, some raisins, mango chutney, toasted peanuts, and some crispy onions. I'd probably say, I mean, because the Madras itself is already quite spicy, I usually have to find a way to balance it, so I would definitely go for the mango chutney and then the raisins, just because I love raisins. Yeah. Yeah, so with the dessert program, we wanted to try to take a lot of inspiration from sort of classic English baking and sort of very rustic desserts, tarts and pies. So we've brought in a sticky toffee date pudding that we serve with a homemade creme fraiche ice cream. We also do a chocolate and caramel tart, which again looks very simple on the plates, but there's a lot of technique that really goes into that dish. That's one of those desserts that we really had to bring back, but we wanted to, you know, really enhance the original recipe. And so everything that goes into that dessert is made from scratch, all the way down to the generous sponge at the bottom, the 2 types of ice cream, pistachio and cherry. Then we have the Italian meringue, which you saw earlier. It's quite a process to make it. These baked Alaskas then get molded and piped before service, before being flambéed at the table. I think, you know, I think change is inevitable, so, you know, just have to be flexible. Basically taking the best of, you know, what we like and the best of each country and trying to channel that into a menu that makes sense. Just a lot of trial and error. You know, we before a dish gets onto the menu, it goes through numerous stages of testing. You know, once I'm happy with it, then I get a few of the team members to try it, and only then, once we're really happy with it, does it make its way onto the menu. And I think that's the best way. You know, sometimes you can have an idea in your head, but until you try it a few different times, maybe you realize that, you know, something needs to change or it's missing a component. Yeah, I mean, I think the previous Jimmy's locations, you know, when you speak to the customers, they all remember it as a place of going, you know, to celebrate, whether it was birthdays or anniversaries, or they'd go, you know, for their work lunches or in the evenings with friends. So I think that's what's essential to Jimmy's, and that's at its core what we're all about. You know, we're not trying to do fine dining. We're not trying to do pretentious food. We just want it to be a place where people can come, relax, whether it's with family or friends, and just have really good food paired with really good service. I think that's what's important to us. At the front of the space, we've got the cafe, which is open all day. So people can come there in the afternoons if they want to have a coffee or a tea or some cakes. Obviously then we've got the main dining room, which also has a chef's counter. And then further back in the restaurant, we've also got a private room that can seat up to 20. So really depending on the mood that you're in, there's lots of different spaces for you to come and explore.
Why would you like to stay here?
Well, I was born here, so Hong Kong is home. I've spent most of my life here. So, even though I worked overseas for a little bit, the plan was always to come back home. So, yeah, this is what I love about Hong Kong.
請訂閱我哋嘅 YouTube 頻道，記得撳埋個鐘仔啊！